Iron Supporting Food Banks collects food and cash donations for needy families in Newham Borough and beyond. Please consider making a donation via their Just Giving page, the link for which you will find in the description section of this stream. Come on, you Irons!
West Ham are massive, everywhere we go! West Ham are massive, everywhere we go! Everywhere we go! West Ham are massive, everywhere we go! West Ham are massive, everywhere we go! Everywhere we go!
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the West Ham Massive. It's been a little bit of a while since we did one of this. So, yeah, nice to see everybody. And please do get involved as we go along. You know, we like the old audience participation. And don't forget to drop a like on the stream. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. And if you unsubscribe because you thought I was dead or something, then make sure you resubscribe. But, yeah, anyway, Let's get down to it. So we're obviously going to review the game that occurred yesterday at the London Stadium, and I'm joined by my friend Charlie, who we went to the game and came back from the game together yesterday.
Unfortunately,
and yeah, I think that I mean, you know, to be honest with you, I've kept quiet about the Graham Potter era. I think my last video that I did for the channel was the FA Cup game at Villa, which was his first game, and since then, I'll be perfectly honest with you. Work and life has just got in the way, and I don't do this channel because it pays the bills or anything like that. I purely do it because I enjoy doing it, and if I can't do it and all the rest of it, then I don't. So that was sort of like the crack as to where I've been sort of thing, hiding for the last couple of months. But I thought that this was a good moment, and obviously you did as well, Charlie, to sort of pop me head above the parapet and have my say on things. And so yeah, that's kind of what's brought us together.
Yeah, good might be pushing it. I think it more might be negative than positive, but we'll see as we go.
Yeah, but yeah, Charlie, obviously you and I had a chat yesterday on the boats and on the train coming back. That was pretty bad yesterday. I mean, give me your take on how things have unfolded in that match, and more broadly speaking about the Graham Potter era, in your opinion.
Yeah, well, 45 minutes into Aston Villa in his first game, I was quite positive. I didn't realise that was going to be the high point of the last, whatever it's been, 6 months. It's not been good. It's not been good to watch. It's been concerning if I'm truly honest. And I think I kind of got to the point yesterday, and you know this, and where I was thought, is this the way forward? And it feels very early to be saying that and saying, is it time for a new manager again? But I think I've maybe calmed down a little bit after yesterday's result. But I come back to someone asked a question a few weeks ago, if he was on a 6-month deal, would I be wanting him to get a new one for next year? Not sure I would be. So in that sense of the word, I don't think I have that much confidence in him, but we always hope to be wrong. We always hope that it improves, and he's going to get the summer, whether I and anyone else in the fan base want something new. Yeah, he's going to get the summer, so we can only hope that proves us wrong, and next season's sunshine and roses compared to what we're watching now.
Yeah, obviously where was we? We was at Hackney Wick, wasn't we, by the Rib Man yesterday when the teams were announced. What was your initial thoughts when you saw the starting 11 and the substitutes bench?
Yeah, I think once we read through it and worked out Wan-Bissaka was out for injury, I think then it made sense. I think the first thing I saw, yeah, I have to agree with that. I think it was a poor appointment, but then it's potentially 2 of them in a row. Some would argue 3. I think a trophy suggests otherwise, but certainly 2 poor appointments in a row. Yeah, when the team come out, I saw Southampton, got concerned, and then realised that obviously Wan-Bissaka was out with his poorly toe. feel really sorry for him. But yeah, I think the team was all right. The team was fine. The team sheet was fine, I should say. I think the intent and the intensity of the tactics and the setup at home to the what until yesterday was the worst team in Premier League history. Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily about the team. I think there's some good players on there, some players that are not so good and we need to get rid of. But bottom line is we should have won yesterday.
Yeah, and look, I've been saying it for a good couple of games now, Charlie, and you'll bear me out on this. I'm looking at the team sheet and look, we're not going to qualify for Europe. And barring some mathematical improbability / catastrophe happening, we're not going to get relegated. Okay. One of the bugbears of pretty much all the West Ham fans, or most of the West Ham fans, it's wrong of me to say all, but most of the West Ham fans that I know of and have encountered have said that our central midfield is not dynamic enough. The players are very samey. Alvarez, Soucek, Ward-Prowse, Rodriguez. A lot of them have a very, very similar skill set. And there's not really a central midfielder with that spark, that dynamism, that sort of the ability to grab a game by the scruff of the neck and turn it. Like Steven Gerrard once did. Sadly, he did it in a cup final against us. But, you know, that type of player that could literally turn the game on his own. We haven't got that sort of player in amongst all the central midfielders we have within our ranks. So I'm sort of sitting here and thinking, is this not an opportunity for Lewis Orford to get a go? Now, whether he is or whether he isn't good enough for the Premier League remains to be seen. Surely this is the way to find out, because there's no pressure on him. You can put him in and say, okay, kid, you've got the remainder of the season. There is absolutely no pressure on your shoulders. Just go out there and do what you do. This is a little bit of an audition for you. It's a little bit of an opportunity for you. And if you pass this with flying colours, you put yourself in the box seat for the beginning of next season. He wasn't even on the bench. I just find that quite strange. And I was quite on that first game at Villa Park, the cup game that I'm referencing where I did the last broadcast. He obviously played Scarles, and if I remember correctly, Caelan Casey was on the bench as well.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, so that gave me a little bit of hope that this was a manager that, he's going to give youth an opportunity. Well, we've got a brilliant chance now to give someone an opportunity where there's pretty much no pressure on him, and he's not doing it. And I just sit there and I scratch my head and I can't get my head around that. I mean, what's your thoughts, Charlie? Do you think he's missing a trick there?
Yeah, I mean, even more so in the fact that what the option is, alternative to that, is to keep playing James Ward-Prowse. I'm sure somewhere there'll be James Ward-Prowse fans, but I don't understand what he does apart from pass the ball sideways and backwards. So, yeah, if we've got Patrick Vieira and Roy Keane in there and he can't get in because we got some quality centre midfielders, then I'd understand it. But the biggest problem we've got is our centre midfield. So why not? Why not? The season's dead. The season's been dead a long time. I know there's people that have sort of said, we could still get relegated, blah, blah, blah. That's never going to happen, especially after Ipswich got their arse handed to them today. What's the harm? It couldn't have been any worse than what James Ward-Prowse did yesterday, really. So, yeah, I wonder towards the end of the season if he will get a chance. But to be totally honest, I suspect he's not even Hammers. I suspect he's not ready. I suspect, from what I've seen anyway, which admittedly is limited, I suspect he's not ready and he probably needs that chance on loan in the Championship, a bit like Freddie Potts has done this season, to get some game time and mixing it with real proper football rather than the under-21s where, from all accounts, he's finding it a bit too easy. So I think he's probably going to go on loan next season. If he was going to be in the squad, would Potter give him a chance? Maybe, but as I sort of said, what's the harm really? Yeah, it's just a shame Potts is still on loan because I think Potts would probably get in there with that defensive mindedness. I think the only reason James Ward-Prowse is probably still getting in is because the other options that Potter likes are Paqueta and Soler, who are obviously more attacking natured. He's not going to be likely to put Orford, Soler and Paqueta in there, who are all sort of more forward-thinking players. I'm not sure where Alvarez was yesterday. I guess he was injured.
Yeah, that was another one that I sort of scratched my head out. Evening, Joan. Soler, why bother? He's off. We know we're not going to keep him. It was the same as Ferguson being on the bench. What's the point?
Yeah, Soler more so.
Learning.
Yeah, Soler, I totally agree. Ferguson, I guess the comeback on that is there is an alternative. Isn't an alternative that he's going to be here next season. Alternative Danny Ings, who is also not going to be here next season, so he's going to want a striker on there to come on. But there wasn't a lot on that bench yesterday, or it didn't feel like it. I think Guilherme was quite good when he came on.
Yeah,
looks a bright spark. A bit of attacking threat, but other than that, unless I'm missing someone, I think he was kind of the only attacking nature player on the bench, unless you count Souček, which, you know, my previous opinions on Souček, I don't.
What were your thoughts on the first
To be fair
half?
to him, he's been one of our best players.
Yeah. No, that's true. But what were your thoughts on the first 45, Charlie? Give me your take on that.
Yeah, I'm surprised I stayed awake. Was up in the gods, so no atmosphere as usual in that stadium. Could quite easily have took a 45-minute kip, but no, it's just dull. It's just dull. And to be honest, we probably hadn't seen it back, so I should maybe stretching it. But it felt like we should have scored in the first couple of minutes when Ramsdale made what looked like a really good save.
Oh, that was from
Fullkrug, I think.
Yes, it was a ball from Paqueta, wasn't it? And then Ramsdale made the save.
That felt like a really good save, and that kind of got us up for it for about 3 minutes. And I don't think anything happened in the rest of the half. Certainly not down Southampton's end. I think they had a few chances. They hit the bar, unless that might have been the second half.
They did, and they had Walker Peters had a shot that just went past Areola's right-hand post. So they had opportunities as well. And this, as you said, this was a team that up till the equaliser yesterday was statistically heading towards the accolade of being Premier League's worst ever club since its formation in 92-93.
Well, we do like to help other teams and other players break bad records, don't we? We did it again yesterday with, I can't remember his name, the goal scorer. That was his first Premier League goal. Yeah, first Premier League goal as per usual for West Ham. So if you got a bad record going, come to Upton Park. God, I'm living in the past. Come to the London Stadium and we'll help you break that duck, whatever it might be.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, mate, and I've said this for a little bit. I've actually, for those of you that don't know and don't have access to it, I have still been doing a little bit of YouTube, just not on here. I've been jumping onto Hammers Chat's Patreon, and I've been doing a little thing as Charlie would be fully aware of. And I've turned around and said it on there, and I'm now at a point. I've got a decision to make next season because I'm not too sure I'm enjoying it none too much, Charlie. I've got a season ticket, as you know. I've got 4 season tickets with me kids and whatever. And it's just becoming more and more difficult just to go there and sort of like be part of an atmosphere, create an atmosphere. a good many times, and I'm up in 203 back row, so there is nothing behind me that is still in the stadium. I can stand up, I can do what I want, and I stand up and I bellow at the top of my lungs a song, a chant, even just the word irons, and I get more often than not met with silence. I get met with a few people turning their heads, looking at me like, what is this moron doing? You know, does he not know we're trying to watch the football while I eat my popcorn and keep myself warm with my 50-50 scarf? I'm just finding it more and more difficult to feel like I actually belong there. And I've been following the club since my first game was in 1983, and here I am in the year 2025, and I feel like I don't belong there anymore. That's quite a sad indictment. I'm not enjoying it. And that first half yesterday was, again, the atmosphere was flat. And I don't know how much of it is to do with the football or whether it's just the support has changed fundamentally over the years. And I think we've spoken about it, and I think you've turned around and said, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was yourself who said that you think we're probably sort of like a little bit ahead of it, but it's just the cycle of Premier League football is becoming a little bit more touristy. Would that be fair?
Sanitized. Yeah, totally fair. Sanitized. I think the whole of the Premier League's going through the same problem. Some clubs are ahead of where other clubs are. I think potentially the big clubs, Liverpool, Man United, and that sort of level of club are probably ahead of us even. But I think there's been similar complaints from Wolves fans and lots of other fan bases this season in the Premier League. So I think there's definitely an element of Premier League is being sanitised. I think a lot of that's to do with the ownership and owners looking to get tourists through the door because they spend more money. One, because they need to for PSR, and income means being able to spend more. Excuse me. But also because the owners want more money. And I think that a lot of football Premier League football has become a business. So the more money for the owners, the better. I think, and you know what I'm up to tomorrow. I'm going to see a non-league game locally for the first time in a good few years, actually, probably 3 or 4 years since I went to see a non-league game. And I feel pretty concerned that it's going to be a hell of a lot more enjoyable than going to Stratford. Yeah, I'm not quite in the same boat as you in that I have already renewed my season ticket, but it's nothing to do with Stratford and it's nothing to do with particularly West Ham or the football. It's purely from the fact that I want to get those. I need the loyalty points, and I still enjoy the away games. And I think people who go to away games regularly, or people who go to the odd away game here and there throughout the season, will probably still think the same. The away games have changed over the years. I think there is less of an atmosphere, but on a good away day, it's still very much enjoyable. I can't remember. I can't remember a game at Stratford that I've enjoyed this season particularly. I think I missed one of the biggest wins against Ipswich. That probably didn't help. But I don't get up and go to Stratford thinking this is going to be a great day, whatever the result, like I do with the away days. So I've as I say, I've renewed. I'm one of the suckers that went for the early renewal just because if they're giving away 3 loyalty points, I might not agree with the strategy for it or the reasoning for it, but that is what they've decided to do. So I'll take the 3 extra loyalty points and give myself a better chance at a few away days next year. And yeah, I think there's a good chance next year I'll have my season ticket, and a lot of the home games I'll just sell it or pass it on to someone else, friend. It might not be my friend after they go and watch that, but pass it on, sell it on, even sell it back to the club for about 3 pence. And just use it to go to the away games and go to those instead. But yeah, as I say, it is sanitised, and I think it's a Premier League problem. But we're top of the pile in terms of since we've been to that stadium, it started bad, and it's just got worse and worse. Bad football doesn't help, but I think even in the good times, it wasn't exactly bouncing over there, bar maybe 3, 4, 5 games max. Sevilla, Tottenham, Chelsea, Frankfurt, not Frankfurt, Leverkusen. Possibly about it. There might be 1 or 2 more, but
I mean, we've been there 9 years, Charlie, and we're struggling to sort of put together. You know, if I stop and think about it, I think I can remember first year that we played there. We played Chelsea in the League Cup. We beat them 2-1. I remember the atmosphere then was quite decent. The last game, is it the last game or second to last game, we played Tottenham. I think the atmosphere when we played Palace, but that was in the second half, so it wasn't even a full match. When Andy Carroll got that bicycle kick, I remember that ramped up for the second half. But as I say, that wasn't even the entire match. First half, I don't remember it being sort of like too much going on. And then beyond that, you're probably you're probably looking at the first game after lockdown against Leicester, Seville at home in the UEFA Cup, Europa League, whatever you want to call it. Like say Leverkusen. Beyond that, mate, I've not got an awful lot for you.
I don't think we're putting together a game per season on average. I don't think we're getting to 9 games, and we've been there nine seasons. So yeah, it's not. It's a bit of a damning indictment, really, when you put it like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
But world-class team in a world-class stadium, apparently.
Yeah, never mind. But the first half wasn't overly impressed with. I think I remember just being so frustrated with the slowness of the ball being moved from back to front. You know, it would sort of like go forward about 5 yards, and then it'd go sideways about 10, and then it'd go back another 8, 9 yards, and then it'd go forward a little bit. And it's like, just, this is one of the worst defenses in the Premier League. We should be fucking pinging the ball in behind them, getting them running towards their own goal. We should be putting them under pressure, all sorts. And we're just fannying around with it. Just get the fucking thing forwards, will you? Please. Test their goalkeeper. I mean, in the first half, you referenced it, that there was a save that Ramsdale made from, I'm sure it was Fullkrug. And other than that, I don't remember him being called into action.
No.
What the hell's that?
No. I can't remember being called into action much. I'm actually really surprised. I've just, for the first time, got the stats up from the game. And actually, we had apparently more XG. That's going to wind some people up. People don't like that stat. But we apparently had 0.82 XG. And Southampton had 0.73. Well, I think if there's a game to tell you that might be a little bit bollocks, it's that one, because I didn't feel like we had anywhere near as good a chances as them.
No.
But yeah, it's a pretty poor game all round, wasn't it?
Yeah, I remember standing up as we was pissing around with the ball and sort of going backwards a bit, forwards a bit, backwards a bit, sideways a bit, over to the other side now. And I remember standing up and going, just fucking get the ball forwards, will ya? And this woman that was sat in front of me turned around and she went, yeah, you're right. You know, it's mind numbing. But then we get to the second half, Charlie, and after what was it, a minute, 2 minutes of play, we get obviously a goal that puts us 1-0 up. And I thought, hello, here we go. We're now going to sort of open up the taps, and we're going to put Southampton to the sword. We all know how it obviously subsequently turned out. But what was your view on the goal from Bowen?
Nice play. It's a really nice play. It was undoubtedly the best play from us all game. Nice build up, nice passing, nice finish. I wish there was a bit more of it. I think that was probably, and I don't particularly like to criticise Bowen because he's obviously a new Mr. West Ham and taken over from Noble. Not quite. But Yeah, I don't remember seeing him other than that goal. And I think his performances in the last few weeks, despite getting a few goals and assists, it's just anonymous. And I think a lot of that is not down to him. A lot of that has been down to being played out of position up front. Normally got two big ass strikers surrounding him with no one else around our team around him, giving him any support. That wasn't the case yesterday. He was in his natural position on the right. I don't remember seeing him apart from the goal. So I think you might have been there or you might have been getting drinks, but I was having a conversation with Steve after the game. Obviously does the player ratings over for Hammer's chat, talking about how you'd rate Bowen. I think apart from the goal, just anonymous. But yeah, it was a nice piece of play. It was a nice finish, and yeah, it's just a shame that was kind of the end of it. I don't know whether it's Fullkrug or Potter that did their interview afterwards. I'm sure we'll probably speak about Fullkrug's outburst. I think it might have been Fullkrug that said about 20, 30 minutes of good play after the goal. And I thought that was highly generous.
Yeah.
I thought we had about a good 5, maybe 10 minutes pushing it where we was clearly on top and probably should have scored another to put the game out of sight. But yeah, nothing like 30 minutes. I think it was Fullkrug. It may have been Potter.
Yeah, no, I remember the interview, and we will talk about that once we've sort of got the match analysis out of the way. But yeah, I mean, yeah, great move, great finish. Bowen did what he does. It's one of those things. Players have some players are labelled a bit of a one-trick pony, and I'm not saying that Bowen is a one-trick pony because that would be very, very harsh of me. But even if that was what you wanted to label him as, it's a bloody good trick. And despite the fact what he's going to do, he's going to cut inside, get it onto his left, and bend it around the goalkeeper into the back of the net. It's awfully difficult to stop, and he's been very successful at it. I know that what you say is that he's been a little bit sort of in terms of what he contributes match by match. It's been a bit sort of hit and miss, and I'm not going to shy away from that fact. But I'll be honest, even despite that, he's still been one of our better players this season, which probably tells you what you need to know. But
yeah, low bar.
Other than that,
low bar.
Yeah, other than that, I mean, he scored the goal. We had a goal chalked off for was it an offside or foul? I can't remember.
On Ramsdale, wasn't it? Fullkrug on Ramsdale.
That was it. Yeah, there was a goal that was chalked off, and that was it. That was it. I mean, I don't know if you clocked it. It was in the first half as well as the second half. We're defending corners with no outball. We've got nobody outside the penalty box. All 11 players, we're defending against one of the worst teams the Premier League's ever seen. And we've got all 11 players inside the 18-yard box defending the set piece. So if the ball's played out, it's coming straight back at us because we've got no one to latch onto the ball as it pops out of the penalty box. Bizarre. I just don't understand what the thinking was with things like that. And that has to come from the manager, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's bizarre in one way. It's also not bizarre because we've had years of that under Mr. Moyes. And I don't like keep going back to Moyes, but for that reference, I think it was necessary. He really quite wound me up for that sometimes, in the fact that we'd have no one out. We'd leave no one up when defending set pieces. And from what I remember of yesterday and other games under Potter, he's been exactly the same. So yeah, it just keeps the pressure on us, and kind of if you're against Liverpool or Man United, well, not Man United this season, one of the big teams who are actually performing well, you can kind of understand, I guess. But yeah, against bottom of the league Southampton, you think, why not leave a striker up there? You say that was it, though. It wasn't it, because Carlos Soler had a nice big open goal to put the ball into, albeit from the halfway line. Rooney. Just drive it, shoot it. I don't care what you're doing. Don't go to the fucking corner flag. So I think he just turned around, turned backwards, passed it to Southampton, and I think Southampton ended up taking it into the corner. I mean, that 1-0 at home to Southampton, bottom of the league, 10 points all season, and we're trying to cling on to a one. That's got to come from the manager.
Mm.
Surely that's coming from the manager. Otherwise, if it's not, he must be going absolutely mad. I don't think he was.
That was an opportunity that, as you referenced, and Ramsdale was well out of his goal. And when it drops to him, I'm sitting there and going, just shoot, just chip the goalkeeper, drive it, whatever.
Yeah, Ramsdale was in no man's land. I had the perfect angle on it. I was basically diagonally in line with Soler and the goal. Ramsdale was miles away. Like, yeah, I think it's easy for me to say sitting here on the arse and sitting in the stands on the arse, but it looked like a fairly simple take a shot, and if it goes in target, it's going in. Worst case scenario, it goes out for a goal kick. That really wound me up. But yeah, as Ian says in the chat, under 40 points, we're very lucky.
Did we get less than 40 points the year we won the Conference League?
Yeah, you might be right. 38, 39, I think, something like that.
Yeah, I'm sure that's about right.
We got 36 now, so I don't know. We've got some decent fixtures coming up, I think, but against teams that could easily beat us on their day, I think we might have it in our hands that Tottenham are obviously playing us 3 days after their Conference League, Europa League semi-final. Same with Manchester United, their second leg. Ipswich will be way on the beach and relegated by the time we play them. So maybe we will get over 40 points, but that shouldn't be the standard for a team that's spent God knows how many hundreds of millions over the last 3-4 seasons. We must be over £500 million since David Moyes' latest stint.
Easily.
And we're just about surviving in 17th against 3 of the worst teams the Premier League's seen. Yeah, it's not good, and it's not promising for next season.
No. Well, we'll come on to another little thing on that. We'll touch on that in due course. But yeah, I mean, 1-0 up against one of the worst teams. We're spurning the very scant opportunities we had after that. Obviously, like I say, the goal that was chalked off, there's nothing you can do about that. But the Soler opportunity, Guilherme, when he came on, I thought he looked bright, in fairness to him. I'm not going to sort of like have a kick him or anything. I thought he looked bright and breezy. He had an opportunity which Ramsdale made the save. But Southampton, let's not kid ourselves. Southampton had opportunities. It's not like they had one opportunity and hit us with a sucker punch. They had opportunities. I mean, there was a save that Areola made in the second half. It was a decent save. Tyler Dibbling was put through and in all honesty should have hit the target and forced at the very least a save out of Areola, which he didn't. He put the ball over the bar. So Southampton had chances. Let's not sort of forget that. But then 93 minutes, I think it was, and you're kind of thinking that we should manage the game at this point. Fullkrug, who would later go on to say what he said by this stage, was withdrawn from proceedings. And yeah, Charlie, talk me through it.
Yeah, I mean, you say we should have seen it out and it should have been comfortable at that point. I don't think there was many West Ham fans in the home end of that ground thinking like that, to be honest. I think I was sitting there thinking it's only a matter of time. I mean, basically from that Soler chance where Southampton ended up running into the corner flag down their end, I think that signalled our intent to shithouse our way to a 1-0 victory, and that just galvanised Southampton. And from that point onwards, it was one-way traffic. And it wasn't the first chance, and it it was probably the third, fourth, fifth chance that they'd had in the space of 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So yeah, they got me and the guys that was sitting up in the gods over the other side of saying to you, we were all looking at each other saying, we know what's happening here. And so it happened. I wasn't even angry. It was just apathy. And I think that's the stage where so many fans are at the moment, is just apathy with everything to do with West Ham, Potter, Sullivan, Premier League football, you name it, the stadium. But yeah, it's just so predictable. We should never be in that situation where we're hanging on to a 1-0 lead. You talk about the lineup earlier. We had good players out there to start. Kudus, Paqueta, Bowen, albeit some not performing right now. But that intent just comes from the manager. And as soon as he starts whacking off every attacking player that we've got, Fullkrug obviously came off, Kudus came off, Bowen came off, I think.
I think he
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, virtually everyone. And then obviously Soucek come on basically as a number 10 behind Evan Ferguson. But the intent was signalled. Southampton then did it again by going to the corner flag. And we kind of got what we deserved, to be honest. I don't think if we'd have won that game, we wouldn't have deserved to win the game. I think I was so bored for a lot of that game. I said to you yesterday, I was talking to the guys in one of the WhatsApp groups we're in, and just sort of said, we know what's coming. And even if it doesn't come and we do shit house the win, I'm still going to feel exactly like we felt like yesterday and now, because we wouldn't deserve the 1-0 win even if we got it.
Yeah, I mean, the finish from Ugochukwu, if I pronounced his name correctly, I'm pretty sure I have. It was a good finish, but that shouldn't happen. That's just poor game management. The game should have been over by that stage. I'm sorry, it should. You know, if there's a Southampton fan watching that thinks that's being very patronising, well, sorry. I'm just saying what I think really is a realistic expectation when you're the home team against a team that is one of the worst teams to ever grace the Premier League. I don't think that it's out of line, you know, considering not so long ago, as you was getting relegated the last time round, we was picking up a European trophy. That's just the reality. But since then we've dropped massively. We're not that team anymore, and even that team wasn't. You know, let's not kid ourselves. That team struggled in the Premier League that year,
14,
didn't they?
something like that.
Yeah. We sort of like the trophy sort of kind of skews your view a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, I
Papers
think
over
even
the cracks, but
the game state yesterday, like, don't get me wrong, by half time by half time, Southampton could have been 2 or 3 goals ahead the way it had gone. A 3-1 half time to Southampton wouldn't have been unexpected or against the run of play. But as we got in at half time, and then as we come out, Bowen's obviously scored quickly. Sort of 10 minutes into that second half, it could have been 2 or 3 goals to us. It obviously wasn't. But when you say it should have been dead and buried, it should have been, because we should have put the chances away in that second half period where we had 10 minutes, 15 minutes of good play. If it goes 2-3-0, Southampton are done. Southampton are not fighting back from that, but all the while we get to 85, 90 minutes and it's 1-0. Well, we've only got ourselves to blame.
yeah, 100%. And I think at the final whistle, I've never ever booed the club, the players, no matter how bad the performance. I'll shout and scream and rant and rave. I just can't find it in myself to actively boo. However, I understand people that do. I really do. And at that final whistle, it was a chorus of boos. And bear in mind, at this stage, there was a lot of fans that had left But
Yeah, I was going to say it
the
was
fans
chorus
that had
support.
stayed, yeah,
Mm.
they're the ones that sort of like are the proper fans. They're not the popcorn brigade, the 50-50 scarf wearers. The ones in the stands are sort of like, fans of many years standing by and large, and they made their feelings very clear. This was absolutely unacceptable yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's too right to them. I'm not necessarily against boos. I don't go out my way to boo, but I didn't yesterday. I was just through again that word apathy. I was just done by the final whistle. I couldn't be bothered. I didn't even have the care in me to show frustration. I think if people want to boo, crack on. But as you say, the stadium was half empty by that point, which probably shows you how many would be in there if we did go down to the Championship season after next. Yeah, that'd be interesting in that ground.
I don't think it'd be. I mean, people turn around and say, "Oh, well, yeah, but we've been relegated before, and we've come straight back up." Not in this stadium, we didn't, and that's what would concern me, because when we was at Bowling Ground, when we was at Upton Park, we had a 35,000 stadium. That when we was in the Championship, we were probably averaging around about 30,000, give or take, most home matches. And because of the configuration of the stadium, and don't get me wrong, I'm not one of these people that has rose tinted spectacles on and says it was rocking every game, because it wasn't. But it was certainly a less friendly place to go if you're an opposition player, an opposition supporter, than what this is. This stadium, if we went down and played in the Championship with, say, 29,000 in there, I'm not quite sure that anyone's going to really be intimidated by that in the slightest. And that's the difference, is sort of like between, like I say, each time we've got relegated the last couple of times, I think 2 seasons top whack, we've been down and we're straight back. But that was at the old ground. This is not the old ground.
No, and you add to that, there's other factors. There's nice, comfy coach riding to underneath the stadium, away from all the fans. Big plush dressing rooms for away teams as well as home teams, because obviously it's designed as a neutral venue for cup finals and big events. Not that anyone would want to host it there unless it's a concert. So it would be there. It would be the most comfort any Rotherham player has ever played in. Sorry, Rotherham.
Or Millwall.
Intentional. Yeah. Oh God, that would be chaos. Stop and go guys would be busy that day, wouldn't they?
They would.
But yeah, you add that to it. We would be, and let's get it right. We've come a long way since we was last in the Championship. We're not the Yo-Yo Championship club. Championship Premier League Yo-Yo club that we was last time we went down. We'd been up and down a few times over the years. We've been in the Premier League
about
20 years now? 15 years?
Went up in 2012.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So a long time, over a decade. We've spent billions on a squad. We've not spent billions on stadium, but the taxpayers spent billions on a stadium for us. We're a big fish if we go down to the Championship, and every single club will be having their day and would love no more than to come turn us over in that shithole. So I genuinely think, and maybe I'm overreacting, but I genuinely think if we go down season after next, we don't come straight back up. There's too much going against us, apart from finances.
And it's not pie in the sky, because as you and I discussed yesterday, the narrative being put forwards by some, and I don't know whether this is actually words out of Graham Potter's mouth or not, but obviously you mentioned it yesterday, that he reckons that we only need 4 players in the summer. Is that correct?
Yeah, as I said to you yesterday, I'm not claiming to have seen that quote myself, but I know I watched West Ham Fan TV's Friday Night Pint, and Nicky was very clear on the fact that Potter had said that. So I don't know when he said it, but yeah, if he said that and if that's his true thoughts, which I really struggle to believe because he can't watch the games he's watched this season whilst being in the dugout and before, and think we only need 4 players. Unless he thinks all the loan players currently out on loan, like Earthy and Potts, are going to come in and transform the squad, which is totally unrealistic and would be unfair on them as well. That's not going to happen. So if he thinks we only need 4 players, I want something that he's been smoking because, I think we're closer to needing 24 than 4, put it that way.
Yeah, I can't, I can't sort of get my head around that thought that four players in summer would be, we'd be fine. We'd be competitive. Like you say, I'd love to know what he's been smoking. I really, really would, because I believe if we sign 4 players and 4 players only in the summer, I think we've got a relegation fight ahead of us. I really do. And this is, let's be honest, the only reason we've not got a relegation fight in the real sense, I know you could look at our position and say, well, surely this is a relegation. But no, look, mathematically, we've never really been in danger of it truly. We've never really been drawn into what I would call a relegation dogfight. The position, yes, 100%. But you look at the points disparity between where we are and the bottom 3 teams. It's like realistically, we've never been involved in it. I guarantee if we only sign 4 players next season, unless they are players of a level that is like supremely on like an Mbappe standard or anything like that, we are in trouble next season, I believe.
Yeah, I think if we only sign 4 players, the only thing that's going to get us out of a relegation battle next season is the same thing that got us out of one this season. If Burnley, Leeds, and whoever come out of the playoffs, I guess the favourites at the moment would probably be Coventry with the form they're in. But say Coventry, Leeds, and Burnley come up, if they put in the same sort of fight that the 3 did this year, then we might be safe again. But that's a depressing outlook for Premier League football if the 3 teams that come up go down every season. But that, in reality, that might save us. And maybe that's what our ownership are banking on. But yeah, I think you think deeper into the 4 number, and that just gets me worried that we're going to see new contracts for Aaron Creswell, Mickey Antonio. I can't see Southampton staying. I can't see Ings staying, but Fabianski, Antonio, Creswell. If we're only signing 4 players, they ain't going nowhere. They're getting a new deal. So, and don't get me wrong, all 3 of them have been good servants, really good servants over the years. Obviously, Creswell and Antonio have been here since Upton Park. I think last couple of seasons at Upton Park, I think both of them were here under Bilic. So they've been great servants, but it was time to move on last year or a couple of years ago, in my opinion. So if we're still sticking around with who will be 41 years old next season, Fabianski, Creswell's got to be 35, 36. Antonio's a little bit younger, but just snapped his body around a tree in half. I'm all. It's a nice idea to give these guys contracts out of loyalty and just because of their service, but that shouldn't be how football's done. If we're doing that, then we're just asking for trouble, really, and that's my worry about the 4 number. If he really thinks 4 is going to be sufficient, who's he going to be keeping around?
Well, saying about that probably nicely segues into what else we want to really sort of get our teeth into. Will this player be around next season? Do you know what? Whilst I don't disagree with a single word that he uttered yesterday in his post-match interview, I wonder whether Niclas Fullkrug is going to be a player that maybe moves on to pastures new in the summer. But I tell you what, for me, he's bang on the money, and it may be an inconvenient truth to Graham Potter. It may be an inconvenient truth to David Sullivan, Karen Brady, Daniel Kotinski, but he's absolutely on the money. And I've got the interview in front of me here, so just in case anybody hasn't seen it, I mean, he says about it's conceding the goal was a mindset problem, and he was very angry, not just disappointed with what we did after the goal. It was difficult to bring the boys back to push up. We didn't push up anymore. We tried. We didn't have the ability or the motivation to push up again. I am very, very angry. We played like this. We had some minutes where we showed we can do what we can do against an opponent like that at home. We showed the possession we can have, that we can go in behind and have the chances to score again. But the motivation, sorry, we were shit, and I'm very angry. This is not the first time when we score a goal and then the next goal kick, we just shoot the ball long. We don't try to play football anymore. We don't push up anymore. We just sink, and that's what the way we want to play. Why we play 65 minutes before with possession, even if it's not perfect. We try to play with possession, try to create chances, we try to score, and then we score. And after that, half the team try and score again. The other half just try to defend very deep. That's not the way it works. We have to find a way to have togetherness, to have the idea where we want to go and what we want to do. The coach was very clear with what he wants. We have to do it all, and everyone has to do it. Quite stinging words, but there is not a word that he's uttered. There's not a sentiment that he's portrayed where I disagree with what he's said. I know a lot of West Ham fans that I've encountered since then are saying he's right. What say you, Charlie?
Yeah, I'm in the vast minority here. Actually, I had this conversation in a group chat last night, and don't get me wrong, I agree with every single word he said. Part of me is alongside everyone else thinking, of course, someone had to say it. I'm glad he thinks that. I struggle to get anything positive out of the words he said, because I think it just fills me with dread and concern about actually how rotten and how big the problems are in that dressing room. If he's comfortable coming out, throwing his teammates under the bus, which is essentially what he did, that's not a team. There's not a team spirit there. He wouldn't have had the blessing of his manager to do that, because Potter is the biggest fence sitter going. He must have the sorest arse in the UK. But yeah, I imagine Potter is fuming with that interview, because look, I think all of that needs to be said, but I think all of that needs to be said behind closed doors in the dressing room to each other, and not to the world's media. I think it's, yeah, I can't disagree with the word he said, but it just fills me with even more concern that actually we needed a big clear out in the summer, but how much that dressing room is just rotten.
Well, we got players that don't want to be there fundamentally. I mean, if you look at Kudus, he's been a total fucking passenger this season. Absolute waste of space. And we discussed it before the game. The only reason why he doesn't find himself on the bench, which is where he should be with his performances this season, is because of his inherent value to the club. If he was a player that was worth 20 million quid, then he would have been benched ages ago. But the fact is that he's worth 85 million. So you put him on the bench for, however long, couple of matches, from a month or two ago, when I think he should have been hooked and just basically told, right, you're not putting in the performances, so you can have a little period on the bench, sunshine. Guess what? We come to the summer, and I'll tell you what, we'll give you 30 million for him. So that's the only reason he's escaped. That is the only reason he's escaped the axe, because he's worth that level of finances. So the manager, any manager, whether it's this manager or whether it was Lopetegui, whether it would have been Moyes, we're forced to play him. And it's not because he's what he brings onto the pitch, because he doesn't do enough. I mean, what is it? 4 goals this season? For a player
Well,
of that stature?
yeah, the stat we've worked out and came up with yesterday, wasn't it, that he's got 2 less assists in the league this season than Ederson, Man City's goalkeeper, and I think he's got one more goal involvement this season than Ederson. It's not a great stat for your £85 million attacking magician or whatever he's supposed to be. Yeah, you are right. Any manager that we employ goes by he has to play because they haven't got a backbone. We've got managers in place that are puppets, basically. We've had that with Potter, we've had that with Moyes, we've had that with Lopetegui. Do you think at Man City, if someone's not performing just because they're valuable to the club, they'll be in a team? Guardiola's not having any of that. And if we've got a manager that's not a puppet of one of the board members, whether that be David Sullivan or Karen Brady or whoever else, I think he does get dropped, and he gets dropped a long time ago because he's not been performing, and he's being forced in the team. I know this winds you up a little bit, but he is out of position, and it's pointless in being there. He should be doing more even out of position, but if you're only going to get 20% out of him from playing him in the wrong position, don't play him at all. Same with Bowen. He's the captain, he's the team leader. If you're going to play him out of position up front, just because you haven't got a striker and you don't play a right winger, just don't play him because it doesn't work. But yeah, Kudus, pathetic performances all season. I can count on less than one hand how many good performances he's had this season. Maybe one against Liverpool, one against Arsenal. That's convenient.
I was going to say, they seem to come against the better teams, interestingly enough.
Yeah. I hope the worst thing I can say is I hope someone comes in the summer and gives us more than 50 million for him, because I would snap your hand off right now, whether it's English team, Saudi team, European team, I don't care. We cannot go into another season where we've essentially got 3 right wingers in Bowen, Kudus and Guilherme, 2 of which insist on being first team starters or should be first team starters. It's such an unbalanced squad, and different people will blame different people for this, whether it's all the way back from Moyes or Steiden or Sullivan. Ultimately, it all comes down to Sullivan, Lopetegui, Potter. The squad is horrifically unbalanced. We got our best 2 players are in the same, want to play in the same position. The fact that we got into that position is just crazy.
Yeah. Like I say, I think the interview that Fullkrug gave yesterday, like I say, I don't disagree with a word he said. I know what you're saying, that the fact that he's, even in Kent, the fact that he's come out and said what he said is probably a damning indictment to the team, the hierarchy. But I say, I think that the problem also is that you mentioned sort of like in the dressing room about, I do think that there is, I don't think it's a harmonious dressing room. I don't think it can be, precisely for that reason that I alluded to, that you've got at least one, and I believe 2, actually. I think you've got 2 players that this season have played, despite the fact they've been abject. Obviously, I've mentioned Kudus. The other one's Lucas Paqueta. I think he's been dog shit. And okay, there may be mitigation for that. I'm not completely have a heart made of stone. I understand that what he's going through must be, but he, for the most part, has been crap, and yet he plays pretty much every game. And there must be players in that squad that sit there and look at that and go, well, hold on a fucking minute. I have a a shit game and I get benched or I get turfed out of the squad, and that's all there is to it. This fucking wanker is putting in performances the likes of a Parks player, and guess what? He starts next season. That can't be a healthy dynamic.
No, I agree. I actually think in the last few games, Paquette is not quite getting back to his old self, but turned in some nice performances in comparison to the rest of the team, which, again, we seem to be saying this a lot, but low bar. So I think he's had some good games recently, but yeah, for the vast majority of the season, he's been anonymous. Again, I think just going back to the team dynamic, I think there's probably I can probably count 5 people that clearly don't want to be there. I think Paqueta wants to move on. Kudus wants to move on. Emerson wants to move on. Kufau's clearly unhappy from everything he says when he goes away on international duty. Areola at times this season's been pretty clear that he's not particularly happy, although I guess that's changed a little bit now that he's number one. Alvarez, again, another one that's had problems, and it was how long was he in the door before he started talking about wanting to
Debo
use us as a stepping stone? Yeah, I don't know with Debo. I think he's said all the right things. I don't know how widely the quotes were circulated, but I think when he went, maybe I don't know if it couldn't have been national duty, but a few weeks back I saw quotes that gave me confidence that he was committed to the club and he wasn't interested in the Man United links and all that sort of stuff. I mean, I wouldn't want to go to Man United these days, but yeah, I've seen some good quotes from him. Maybe it's all just words to put out in the press to make it people like him, but I think he's committed. I could be totally wrong, but yeah, as I was saying, Alvarez, he was in the door 5 minutes before he was talking about using a stepping stone to go to Liverpool. So that's 5 or 6 players that would be quite happy to move on. There's probably others that are doing it quietly. It just goes back to that 4 players in signing in the summer that if he said it or if he said anything like that, I think it's crazy. I think we need it's never going to happen. But in an ideal world, if we're playing Football Manager on the PC, I think we're getting rid of 10 or 12 and we're trying to get 10 or 12 in. Not going to happen, clearly. But yeah, I think that again plays into my concern that, okay, a lot of people are saying it's not Potter's team, give him time, he needs to get his own team. It's not going to look like his team next season. We could, even if we get 6 players in and let 6 go, vast majority is still going to be Lopetegui squad, David Moyes' squad, Tim signings. It's going to have an element of Potter, but it's going to take 4, 5, 6 windows to turn it into Potter squad. He needs to be a good enough coach to work with the players he's got, and I don't think there's any evidence to say you can do that at the moment, albeit only a fairly short period of time. Yeah, I agree. A lot of players just haven't turned up this season. Yeah, it's not. It's been 3 managers now, as Troy said. It's been 3 managers now where players have underperformed. So there's clearly bigger problems than the manager. But as I say, I'm concerned. I'm not getting confidence from the manager either.
Yeah, I think we've got. We could have this summer window could be pivotal. It really could be pivotal to our long-term chances of being a Premier League club. And I think that if we don't get it right, and we've got, as you say, we've got a lot of players that are coming at the end of their time at the club, whether it's because their loan deals are ending, like Ferguson and Soler, and we know that they're not going to be hanging around, or whether it's that their deals are coming to an end, like Kufau, like Ings, like Antonio, Cresswell. It's just really, it's imperative we get the summer right. I've wrote this season off. Several games ago. And as I say, for me, I just feel it's quite the thing. I still struggle with is the fact that he won't blood some of the youth talent that we've got, either by putting them on the bench or starting them. And like I say, the prime example of that for me is Lewis Orford. I'd have been starting him 2-3 games ago and just said to him, just do what you do, mate. There's no pressure on you. Let's see what you got. Maybe you can save us 40 million in the summer. But no, we're not even involving him in squads, which for me is just totally wrong. But I'm concerned, mate. I'm seriously concerned when you've got a player like Fullkrug coming out and saying what he said. And like I say, I didn't disagree with a word of what he said. And, but the fact that he sort of like said the words that he said, for me, I think they shine a light that there's, I believe, a bit of a schism in that dressing room. I think there's a clear divide between players with the mentality of a Niclas Fullkrug, and say what you want about him being an injury-prone player and this and that. But the one thing you can't level at him is that he's not got a winner's mentality. He absolutely has. You can tell that from the interview, and you don't be a German international of his pedigree if you haven't got something about you. And I think we've just got too many players in that dressing room that their attitude is the complete polar opposite of Niclas Fullkrug, and they just don't give a shit.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think you've absolutely bang on to be concerned about the transfer window in the summer and how that's going to look. And I tend to never try and believe anything that comes out of the club, to be honest, because Wolfie up there is prone for putting bollocks out in the press. But if you believe to any extent what's coming out of the club, we're not going to have loads of money this summer until we start selling players. So I don't know, say in a best case scenario, we have 50 million net spend or something like that. We can get a couple of players in 25 million a piece, something like that. It doesn't go very far until we start selling some big names as well. He's not going to releasing some players and get some money off from their contracts off the books. Will help a little bit. We might sell Emerson for 10 million. We might sell Soucek for 20 million. Again, it doesn't go very far. We need to make some big sales this summer, and if we're going to make a big squad overhaul, which I feel we need, maybe the club and the manager don't feel we need it, but I certainly feel like we need another 150, 200 million pound spend. That seems mental saying that, but that's the position I feel we're in. We're going to need a big squad overhaul, and I think the only way we actually get that is if Paqueta gets cleared and goes out for 40 million, best case scenario, maybe a little bit more. Kudus, if anyone wants to come in, trigger his release clause. That then gives us the finances to go and do what we need to do in the summer in terms of squad overhaul. Whether we do it well or not is questionable. We haven't exactly got a massive positive track record of making fantastic signings, but yeah, I think especially if those sales come, you imagine those sales, we do nothing in terms of selling players until middle of August. That puts us right up against it to try and get some players in. I really worry for this summer, and if we get this summer wrong, I could see it being another season like this. I'm less concerned about relegation, maybe naively, but I do think there's that big gap between the Championship and Premier League now. I don't think Burnley and Leeds and, say, Coventry are going to be able to spend enough to keep them up. But you never know. It only takes one of them to have a good season, maybe keep a load of their Championship players who have got them there all rallied together and upset the odds. It only takes one. If we have a season like this, we're bang in trouble. So, yeah, I think lots of worries about the summer, lots of worries about next season, lots of worries about what the hell's going on in that training ground. Yeah, I can't imagine Tuesday morning's going to be going to be a great atmosphere in that training ground. Maybe they won't need another secret behind closed doors, clear the air meeting that apparently Potter held when he first got there. I'm not sure the first one worked, so we'll see if the second one does.
Yeah. Any final thoughts you want to get off your chest, Charlie, before we knock it on the head?
No, I don't think so. I think, as we sort of said, I've calmed down a little bit since yesterday in terms of I wasn't quite Potter out's got to go tonight. That I know some people were on Twitter and YouTube. Not that they're always reflective of the fan base. I don't think they are, but I wasn't quite that level yesterday. But I was definitely in the camp of it's got to make a change at the end of the season. Fully aware that's never going to happen for a multitude of reasons of the running of this club. But yeah, I just come back to that question that we spoke about earlier, or I mentioned earlier, in that if Potter was on that 6-month deal that he originally wanted, and Karen Brady ain't got him a 2.5-year deal, would I be giving him an extension to next year and the next 2 years? I think the answer is no. And in that case, I start to question, well, if we do give him those other 2 years, or even give him next season, are we just making the same mistake we made at the start of this season and giving 150, 200 million, whatever it might be, to a manager and a director of football who could be gone in 6 months? Appreciate that could be the case with any new manager, but I'm fairly confident. I'm fairly confident in my thoughts about how much confidence I have in Potter to succeed. So yeah, that's where I'm at. But in reality, it's not going to happen. So I hope, like I'm sure most West Ham fans do, that I'm convinced by him. I hope he proves us wrong, and I hope he makes some great signings and have a great season. But I wouldn't be holding my breath right about now.
Yeah, fair enough, Charlie. Well, anyway, thanks for joining us, all of you that have been contributing in the live chat, and I've been getting as many of your messages up as possible. To be fair, Trudge, there's reasons why we've got long faces at the minute, but there's probably much more that we could discuss, but we want to get off and have some dinner and whatever else. So anyway, Charlie, thanks for joining us today, mate.
Time.
Yeah. But anyway, look, we're going to disappear. As I say, please don't forget, before you go, if you haven't already done so, to drop a like on this stream. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you haven't already. We'll catch you next time. Come on, you Irons, and a happy Easter to you.
Irons Supporting Food Banks collects food and cash donations for needy families in Newham Borough and beyond. Please consider making a donation via their Just Giving page, the link for which you will find in the description section of this stream. Come on, you Irons.